This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back. We are excited to have Shaun Rajah joining us here today. That is Events by Shaun Rajah, INC. Yes, he's the owner and principal planner, and we're going to talk about these amazing events that he does. Chicago-based event planning and design firm that specializes in refined weddings, elevated social celebrations, and so much more. Shaun, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you? And
I'm
belated birthday greetings.
Yes, thank you. I can't believe it. I'm now 48. Yeah. Wow. 2 days ago. Thank you so much for knowing that. Thank you.
Of course, you
I,
still look like you're in your 30s.
You're so sweet. No, it's the filter. No, there's no filter, but thank you. We age and it's a blessing just to be alive. So I'll take it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Excited to have you here. I mean, with all your background, what you've accomplished in your life, I'm excited to get to know you further. So just a quick overview to your company to start. And then I want to dive into you, your past, and how this all came to be. So tell me about the event company to start.
Great. I've been based in Chicago for the last 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, my background is in hospitality. I come from the events world, formerly the associate director for
Yeah.
catering for the Drake Hotel, which is known for throwing luxurious balls and events for the last 105 years. And then most recently was the director of social catering at the Langham Chicago, Chicago's
Wow.
currently number one hotel. Yes.
Amazing. So we're talking, you're in the luxury hospitality business. You're into servicing your clients and people with total excellence, upscale, beautiful occasions. And I mean, that's not an easy task. I mean, the team that you must have, your knowledge, it's got to be impeccable because that's how you keep coming in over and over again, winning those accolades. Now, let me ask you this. So you were at the Drake, right? And then the Langham.
Yes.
Now, hold on. Are you still working with the Langham now or?
No, so my company is bespoke. It's always going to be this way. I'm never going to have like 10 people under me. I want to be known as bespoke, personalized, and it's a small boutique company. But then again, it branches out all the way to like Bali, Indonesia, to Sydney, Australia recently, and last year I was in Scotland. So it is global. I'm able to travel anywhere in the world, and the venue isn't like I always say, I can work at any venue. Being in the business all these years, you know everything that happens behind the scenes. So it does benefit you.
Wow, this is exciting. I want to live through you vicariously through by looking at all your pictures of these events. I mean, they're pretty fantastic. Let me ask, so you are currently based though in Chicago, right? But you are working worldwide.
Indeed. I actually was born and raised in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So
Oh,
I moved
wow.
here. So if I have to tell you, I am one of those people that I'm living the American dream. Of course, Hilton was responsible for bringing me to the US, and that's how I ended up here. My main task was actually to come to the US to particularly manage the tea room at the Drake. I'm a tea master by profession, and that's how it all started. And throwing in events, I did the royal wedding tea for Kate Middleton and Prince
Oh,
Harry.
wow.
Then initially the main thing that really put me on the map was the wedding for Prince William and Diana, of course, the Princess of Wales, stayed at the Drake in 1996. She was here in June, so we used that and we promoted the event. And I know for a fact that people loved the royal family, so it clearly put me on the Today Show, BBC. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a journey for certain. But yes, I always tell people, but my real reason of actually moving to America, and someday I'll tell you that over a conversation over a cup of tea, is actually
Oh,
to meet
great.
Whitney Houston.
Oh my goodness. No. So you did?
And I actually met her twice. One wasn't really invited. I was stalking her, but I not in a way, but I was at the Four Seasons. But
Yeah.
I did get a chance to meet her at the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Oh, amazing. Wow. What was that experience like for you?
I love talking to people, but I was a little starstruck. So
Hmm.
yes, it was different, but one of my favorite singers in the world. My friends always tease me. They tell me, "Why do you always listen to people who are older than you or people who have been dead for a while?" I'm like, "Well, that's my music. You know, some may say I'm boring, but I'm set in that era. I know I'm a 1980 baby, you know."
Beautiful. I'm a 78 baby, but still, I love all that same music. Oh my goodness. What a queen. What a voice that woman had. And
Indeed.
it's amazing how it lives on because when it comes on the radio, I just play it like the greatest love of all. I can't sing, but I'm just like,
Hmm.
whoa, it brings you back to that space and time. And I appreciate your honesty because, yeah, we do get starstruck sometimes. I got starstruck. I was interviewing Brad Pitt, and I'm like, it just happens, but they are normal, amazing people, just like us. It's just, but I totally can relate to this. Oh,
And of
and
course, in my line of work, of course, I had the opportunity, of course, to take care of some very important people in my lifetime. And, one of the things you learn to compose yourself and understand they're a regular human being because there are certain rules and regulations you work when you have to abide to when you work in a
yes.
hotel. Because I just can't run and say, "Oh my God,
Oh
I've
my
been one."
goodness.
Yes,
Can we take a
so it's
selfie? No, you can't.
and for some reason, people here in the US always end up thinking that I look like Prince. I never saw it. My mom did.
A
And
little.
um
Okay.
and I actually saw him twice. And I tell people, do you know he's shorter than me? They go like, is that even possible? Indeed. I'm like the tallest in my family. And yeah, great guy, very great charisma. And so every Halloween I go in as Prince. It's easy. Just
It's
put a purple suit
easy.
on. Until someone's had too much to drink, someone ended up saying, "Hey, oh my God, it's little Richard." I'm like, no, no, no. It's Prince. Can you tell? Yeah,
You are a comedian as well. Unbelievable. And okay, so I know at the heart of, Shaun's belief, really, it's about these memorable celebrations. And you say they're really, you got to feel true to the people that they're honoring. And every event is designed not only to be beautiful, but to be experienced, remembered, and treasured and cherished, right? Long after the
absolutely.
final moment. So let's dive in a little further into the types of products and services you're offering, starting with weddings. Okay. Woof.
So weddings are definitely my main market. So, but I definitely do a lot more of niche weddings, meaning I have a niche clientele. It's a lot of different cultures. So, of course, clearly I am of South Asian, Sri Lankan, and Indian heritage, but I do a lot of mixed marriages. 50% I would say are Jewish weddings, but
Mm-hmm.
then Jewish and South Asian. I have next year Nigerian and Korean.
Oh,
I have
wow.
Greek. So it is great because it is one of those, it's beautiful to see two cultures come together. And I
Mm-hmm.
always used to, people walk into ceremony, they always ask, the first question is, where is the boys' side? My answer is always the boys on the right, the ladies on the left. But today, two sides become one. Feel free to grab a seat. It's you need to educate the guests. And funny
Yes.
enough, till today, people still walk. I have a ribbon right in front of the aisle so that no one will walk down the aisle. It's dedicated for the bride, but someone still has to find a way to, and I'm like, nope, around the corner, please. But yes, weddings are my full service. I do full service planning right from the moment you get engaged, and then I'm focusing on that. But of course, when the holiday time is around, holiday parties are a big thing. I'm branching out to branding and activation of new brands. That's something I used to do a lot more in my hotel line. So I'm branching out to that. Of course, social events, private
Mhm.
celebrations, birthday parties, anniversaries, and hopefully down the road, parties for our little fur babies.
Oh, my goodness. Do you have any animals?
I do. My actually, I was just gonna say, my little rascal is actually sitting in the bedroom because he is a
Mm.
corgi and Jack Russell. He has a lot to say. And when my team met him initially, they were like, "Wait a minute, do you know that your son is just like you?" I'm like, "Well, chip of the old block."
Oh, that's great. I love you. You have such a great aura, energy you're about, you personality, and clearly you're successful. I mean, just your innate being is just beautiful. I'm so happy that I get to talk to you today.
You're
Really.
very kind. The feeling's
Thank
mutual.
you. Well, let me ask you this. So recently, you just mentioned holiday parties. Did you have anything big, any type of parties you want to share? What did you do last month? My goodness, it must have been busy
So
for you.
I actually had a really nice holiday party at home, which I invited a number of people, and I know I told them it's going to be a small selection of people. I worked with one of my favorite caterers. They're based in Chicago, called Entertaining Company, and I'm very specific on what I like. Even though I have a shellfish allergy, I do know that shrimp is one of the most popular things that people love to navigate. I mean, they love it. So as long as it doesn't touch my lip, it's absolutely okay. I went with the traditional. Nothing beats like a nice, beautiful beef tenderloin. You know, bread is always on the side so that you can always help yourself if needed. So I love bread and butter, but I'm trying to stay away from it. I'm a big fan of the Waldorf salad, and
Yes.
it's a must at every party I do. No, but I was telling you that I hosted a beautiful Jewish and Indian wedding late November before I headed to Portugal. And it was hosted at the Langham. It was a series of 3 days. And then the second day was at the event place called the Garrity. It's owned by the Kehoe Designs. But, we did a lot of unique things. And the good thing about this was the mother was very open to ideas. And, towards the end, I think she said, I just want to make sure that my kids really enjoy the wedding. I'm like, absolutely. She said, it's not going to be over the top, right? I jokingly said to her, can you tell me when was the last time you attended a wedding, a Hindu and a Jewish wedding where they had an aerialist at the cocktail hour? Then she said, oh my God, Shaun, what do you think it's too much? I'm like, absolutely not. Let's do this. And I had this beautiful harpist. She's based in Chicago.
Oh,
Her name is Dawn Bishop, but
okay.
she was playing to tunes of Ravi Shankar and famous Bollywood movies. So what was interesting is she had this aura and presence as she had this beautiful gown that she was wearing. So as people walking in, they were just mesmerized, not by her beauty, but the fact that she was able to play these traditional hymns or songs. Yeah, so that wedding was a great collaboration of different ideas. And I think that's what I like to tell my clients. The party has to be all about you. Yes, I will come up with ideas, and some things may be outrageous, but if you want to
Mm-hmm.
go with it, I can make it happen. But then some will say, yes, I love this. Some I'm like, no, I don't think I want anybody
Yep.
draped in gold paint and walking around offering champagne and strawberries. I'm like, are you certain you don't want it? So it varies.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, I also got to dive in here a little further and I want to ask you about overall luxury. Really, let's dive into this word luxury. And what does luxury mean to you? And how would you describe that to our listeners today? Because, luxury is so important, but it's changed over time.
Yes. One thing I do want to clarify, and I just want to share my opinion about this. Like, of course, weddings 10 years ago is a totally different ball game now. Like to me, luxury is no longer about excess or spending more. Whether it's a party of 15 or whether it's a party of 400, it could still be luxury, still could be defined as luxury, but in different ways. If
Yes.
I would get married again someday, perhaps, well, let me rephrase that. If I would get married, it probably will be an intimate celebration of 20, 25 people. Might
Yep.
be in Portugal, which I'm dying to start my business there, and
Ooh,
also probably Italy, But then there are great venues here in Chicago or in California and Arizona, So to me, luxury is no longer about excess or spending more. It's about just being taken care of, feeling welcomed. And I think that's one of the key elements that people end up selecting me to be their planner. And I always tell them, let's get on a call. I think it's so important that people hear about my enthusiasm about hosting any event. And you see, I come in from a sales background. So to me, when I clinch a contract or when I win an award, it's absolutely amazing. It's a great feeling. It's not about whether it's in Chicago or whether it's in Alabama. It doesn't matter. But it's just the fact that, wow, I got this contract and I'm excited. Um, the famous saying, Maya Angelou, I've learned that people will never forget how you make them feel.
yes.
That's absolutely true. Yes, they're probably going to remember that beautiful floral centerpiece, but the two elements to any gathering is probably this three things: food, music, and how you make them feel.
Yeah.
Food and music, it's something we can cultivate, whether it's a violinist or let's say the cover
Yep.
girls walking in. As you're walking in, they're greeting you with some beautiful string music, or it's that first bite of that grilled cheese with that tomato sip that the
Mm.
Langham does so well, And one thing I always say, there should never be lines at any party, not my parties at least. And if you want to spend money, you pay for that extra bartender. The cocktail hour is my first time I'm able to create that experience for my guests. And the last thing you want is anybody waiting for a drink. So when I throw a party, I always make sure that white wine, sparkling water, champagne, those are the three things that has to be passed. I don't do red only because someone may have come in a little bit too tipsy, and no accidents at my parties.
Oh my, that is so true. I agree with that. I 100% agree. This is I hope well, I've never been married. So one day when I get married, I'm calling you. I hope I can get married. If so, if I'm not too old at that point, but I want you to plan my wedding.
Never, never to. You can get married anytime. I'm in this. I'm 46 this year, and I still have hope. I'm hope. I don't think many people understand my schedule,
Yeah.
and I think my new Hinge profile or Tinder profile is probably going to say, if you're okay with me working from bed or working at the computer at 2 a.m., at this age, I don't want to be asked, are you still working? I'm like, yes.
No.
My mom used to always tell me, work when you can, you sleep when you're dead.
Love her. Oh my goodness. That's so true. It is. And yeah, you need someone that's going to understand you and let you be you. You're at your age, my age. We're not changing for anyone. And why should we? I would never ask someone else to change their ways, their habits, their work, right? So it's always
Absolutely.
very difficult, very difficult. That's a whole nother conversation. We'll talk relationships another time, but let's keep continuing and diving in. And for those that are listening, just want to remind you, we're talking luxury here. And really, I mean, these iconic events that you've done at the Drake Hotel and the like, and we're going to talk a little bit more about, wow, this, how does it happen? And because it's got to take so much, and clearly the experience, the relationship really matters. So let's dive into that a little bit if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So, of course, as we talk about Chicago, there's some amazing venues. Yes, the Drake is iconic. The Four Seasons is a beautiful property. The Peninsula, of course, is a regal property. It's been in Chicago for what, 30 years or probably more. It's run by the general manager, Maria Zek, who's very, very well known in the city. And then you have Chicago Illuminating, which is a great venue that gives indoor and outdoor options. So there's so many great options. But I always focus on hospitality first. I always think it needs to be effortless. People, whether it's for the guests or the client I'm working in, I wouldn't consider myself OCD, but I do have way I need to work with my clients. Like monthly meetings are a common thing. I love to give homework. I'm like, let's get this done. But at the end of the day, it needs to be enjoyable. I don't, as hard as it can be, some people manage stress differently. But, being around for a while, I can actually tend to understand that. So that's when I step in and say, hey, how are you feeling? Does
Yeah.
it feel overwhelming? What else can I do for you? So and I may have 15, 18 clients a year, but to them, I want them to feel like they're my only clients. And if you read my reviews, many of them say that some people say that I don't sleep. And I think one of my reviews say, oh my God, I feel so worried. He only emails me at 2 a.m. in the morning. I think I remember a priest at Holy Name says, are you based in Chicago? Because why does your emails come in at 3 a.m.? I'm like, yes, I'm actually based in Chicago. I just sleep at odd times.
Love it. That's how you work when you work your best. That's important. And people see these beautiful events only for a few hours, but tell us what they're not seeing.
So what they're not seeing is exactly like what we're talking about, the behind the scenes, the countless hours. So I think perspective wise, many people do understand the importance of having a wedding planner, but some do question the job, meaning, is it a real occupation? Like I went to school for hotel management. I did my 20 years in hotels. It's not that that is a requirement to be a wedding planner. Believe it or not, sometimes it's common and I've seen it where a bride gets married and next thing she tells us, oh, I feel like I'm ready to be a planner. I'm like, oh God, no. Let's take it a step back because there's a lot more involved. As simple as, I'll give you an example, right? And all this comes from experience. Room blocks. One of the first things you do is when you pick a date for a wedding, correct? You pick a date that works for all, meaning you don't want to pick a first week of June in Chicago where there's a big oncology convention because your room rates are going to be soaring high. And better still, if Beyonce decides to add a concert that weekend, yes, good luck. You're not going to get a room rate lower than what you're expecting. Little details like that. But at the same time is I know exactly which hotel to call for a room block because that's how you build vendor relations over the years. So
Yeah.
there are lots of things behind the scenes. And, you know, I joke around and tell people it's the Indian in me that's going to come out. I tend to vouch for my clients. I tend to get them the best deal, but some things, not everything can be negotiated. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to step in and tell a floral company, you need to bring the price down. No, whether it's December, whether it is March, June, you're going to still pay the same price, whether you're going to pay for this flowers or
Yeah.
not, because especially in January, some things may be a little bit more expensive because things are not in season, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to always work with the vendors. Yes. Do I have a list of vendors that I prefer to work with? Absolutely. Why? This is my one chance. If it's a gala, sure, I'll give someone a chance. But if it's a wedding, I want to work with people that actually, and I work with anyone, keep that in mind, but I want to work with people who do this for a living, who are actually passionate about their jobs, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are many behind the scenes that I think people don't really. Is it a stressful job? Absolutely. Do I
Yeah.
show it? Probably not. And I remember November of, I think, was it 2016 or something? We had the first, it was the day of the lighting parade. The John Hancock building was on fire. And there was the first winter storm. And I
Oh,
remember this clearly because I told the groom, and I still keep in touch with him. If I'm not this was a while back, and I think his last name is Anderson, Michael Anderson. Hi, it's me, Shaun. And you know, I remember, and he was so cool, and he said, "Don't worry, we'll get back on time." And here I am waiting, and okay, he's not here. The cup because they were stranded because the roads were closed. But he
mm-hmm.
walked in, he came in on time, and people were like, "Oh my God, how do you stay so calm?" But in reality, I'm like, "Oh my God, where the hell are these people?" You know, but I get through it. You know, sometimes you always have to show that image, and there's some things you just don't like on the day off. If something happens behind the scenes, yes, so what? Something broke. It happened. Okay. But we can talk about that later. I'm not going to tell the bride and groom, hey, by the way, so and so had too much to drink. I had to kick him out, you know?
Yeah.
So so yes, there's a lot of behind the scenes, but you know, most of my events are planned a year out. So that's a
Okay.
good example.
Good.
Sometimes you know, I have a client that is probably going to get married in August. Is it possible? Absolutely. I call them short-term weddings. And why? Because the good thing about short-term weddings is you get to do this on the go, meaning you're not going to say, let me sit and think about the color palette I want to choose for my wedding. No, you're going to make choices and move on because if you don't, you're not going to get the vendors that you want to have at your wedding.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And what would you say? Why do events matter more than ever right now?
You know, people, especially for what we've experienced post COVID, and I think people want to have a celebration. People, and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's as intimate as it is, or whether you're going to elope, everyone, like, I can't tell you who's getting married this weekend with me, but I have a great couple getting married, and you probably see it next week. And it's an intimate wedding, but I'm so glad they found me. And it's been such a great celebration so far, just working with them. And I can tell their love is so authentic, they're so great together. And so these are the things that I think matter
Yeah.
the most. Guest count really doesn't matter. But then again, you know, when you do an Indian and Jewish wedding, yes, you're going to expect 350 people. And, you know, it's one of those things. I don't do too many of those large weddings. And I also limit myself to a number of Indian weddings per year because it takes a lot of more of my time because it's usually a 3-day affair. And I want to appear visible to all my clients, whether it's Japanese, Korean, Indian, it doesn't matter. I'm able to capture that entire audience.
No, absolutely. So at the end of the day, your events are about connection, right? Because people remember how they
Absolutely.
felt, who they were with, and the moments they shared. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And what do you focus on in your work? Is it hospitality first?
Yes, hospitality first. And I will tell you, because the fact that I worked in these two prominent hotels, many of my clients are repeats, meaning not that they're getting married for the second time, but the fact that they had a good experience with me
Yeah.
in my previous role. And they knew that I'm able to do much more for them. I'm able to help them in this capacity. So I'm very fortunate because people always ask, would you move to a different city? Not at this time in my life. Would I retire somewhere, might be in New York City or Bangkok or somewhere? Absolutely. But this is where I will be based because this is where my clientele is.
Got it.
Majority of my clientele is repeats, word of mouth, and referrals.
Beautiful. Well, also, let's talk a little about, I know your inspiration. You said your mother is the one who really kind of inspired you. Could you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I'm the youngest of three. And, of course, in an Indian family, either be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. And if that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen, she would always say, Shawnee, she calls me Shawnee, and she would
Oh,
always ask, do you think you might get a calling? And I'm like, Mom, calling for what? She said, priesthood. I think you'll be a great Catholic priest. And I'm like,
oh.
no, I'm not getting no calling. And she said, but close your eyes, think about it. I'm like, Mom, absolutely not. No calling here. Yes, I go to church every now and
Oh,
then,
she's
but
so funny.
I was an altar boy for a bit. And yes, my mom worked very hard to raise all three of us. I
Mm,
get a little sentimental each time when I talk
yeah.
about her. I have been going back religiously once a year for the last 24 years, but lately I've been going back twice because my mom has dementia. And people always ask me, what does that feel like? I mean, does your mom still remember you? I'm like, at this point, I don't really care if she remembers me or not. It's more that I want to be there. I want to be able to feel her hands. It feels great.
Yeah.
Um, but, it's one of those things that will always inspire me. Like, she was a teacher, a retired teacher. She taught maths and English, and she was very strict. But as she grew older, she became really cool. And I think because as she was one of the things, she would walk into class, and I was in her class for a moment. Like I was in her English class, and she moved me out. I remember because she said, I can never teach my own kids." And she would walk in,
Yeah.
and she would always say, "Bags down, chairs in, sit up straight." Because it was the way she went to convent, run
Mm-hmm.
by the nuns. So, but and I think growing up in Malaysia, we watch American sitcoms like Full House, Growing
Yes.
Pains, which always inspired my dream to come to the US and to build a
Oh,
better life for myself. And I think that combination of that, because funny enough, people till today, they're like, wait, you're from Malaysia? And I'm like, yes, we don't live on trees. And my friends who come to Malaysia with me, they're like, oh my God. I mean, like the food is a great thing. And of course, weddings and events in Asia and Europe are a whole different scale. Europe, in particular, of course, I think Sydney and Scotland was wonderful, but they move in a slower pace.
oh,
Oh yeah, they move at a slower pace where if you get a response in a week, you're lucky. But you see, we work differently. Like I make sure that every night before I sleep that my emails are answered, or at least you'll get an email that says, "I've received your email. I'm working on it." The least. I will never let my guests hang, but I think that's just the culture we are. I wouldn't say workaholics, but maybe we are, but it's okay. But that's what we do.
amazing. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I wish we had more time, but we are out of time today. I still want to hear so much more from you. I hope do we have any more shows lined up?
Indeed. I think we have four more segments with you. So I'm excited to get to know
Oh,
you a little better as well.
same here. We're going to talk more about your events, more about your background. I want to hear about some of your obstacles, your mentors, and so much more. So, in the meantime, if we want to reach out to you, Shaun, tell us how we can do so.
So my website is my name, ShaunRajah.com, www.Shaun spelled Shaun, like Shaun Cassidy, Rajah, Rajah.com. And I'm on Instagram at Events by Shaun Rajah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here today. Thank you for giving me this boost of energy and just to talk to someone who's so energetic, who just loves life. I can feel it from you. It just put me in a much better mood. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
You too, sweetheart. Thank you. And to all of our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.